Okay, so in front of me, you should be able to see phase number 3, which is, okay, great. Thank you guys. Okay, so with that said, we are going to officially begin. Welcome to today's session. Today, I'm going to start off by sharing with you where we're currently at. We are step 3.4, phase 3, which is proven presentations. And today we're going to talk about this step here, which is a huge step. Some of you have been through my trainings where I've talked about proven presentation. Some of you may have even bought the course and gone through like hours of this piece here. But there will always be new insights that I will be covering. And I promise you that this session here today will be no different. So let me just kind of start off by giving you an insight to why mastering this step here will be one of the most powerful and lucrative steps that you actually do online. Every single marketer in the world that I know of that is generating at least 7 figures has, in one way or another, if they're marketing online, mastered this step here, which is the ability to create a presentation online that is compelling, so that at the end of that presentation, whether it's a webinar, whether it's a sales video, whether it's a Facebook Live, to have that audience hanging on their every word and take out their credit cards and give them money at the end. Like, that is a highly specialized skill, and this is a skill that when you master this with practice, nobody can take that away from you. Okay, so this is what this session is about. I'm gonna walk you through the big picture that some of you would already be familiar with, but you're gonna get additional insights from this session, that much I promise you. Now, to kind of master this skill over here, let me kind of give you the big picture to how this thing works first. Okay, so how does this step here work? Now, speaking is both an art and a science. Okay, so what that means is that the science part of speaking and presenting and making an offer online is understanding structure. It is by understanding what to say. It is by understanding what's the flow, how to set up the context, and the transition from step to step. That is science. Science is something that is a lot easier to learn and to master than art. Now, proven presentations is down to a science. It's down to 4 steps. It's down to how do you open, what are the things to teach, what's the content, how do you create the stack, what is the offer, and finally, how do you close? That's the science. That's the structure. That is the flow. The other part of presenting that will take a while to master, that is obtained through practice, is the art. The art is how do you bring out the personality in you? How do you be comfortable in your own skin? How do you bring out the charisma? How do you be in the moment? How do you develop that sense of confidence? Now that is the art. A combination of these 2 things will make you be a master presenter, whether it's online or whether it's offline. It is a mix of these 2 things. If you're somebody like me who didn't have the talent and you started off not knowing both the art and the science, then it's going to take you more practice, like what I had to do, in order to master the art and the science. I got the science down first, and with enough practice, I became good at the art. Now, some of you, you could already have the talent, which is having the art, which is something I know many people have, but because they never practice, they don't understand structure, they're not good with the science, and that's why they never became good at it either. So to become truly good at this is when you want to have both the art as well as the science. Now, how does this relate back to like what I'm doing right now? Tomorrow I am, well, it's already 6 in the morning. So, well, today I am going, later today, I'm going to Santa Barbara, which is where my next TV show appearance is going to be. I'm going to be on TV tomorrow. And one of the reason why I take these TV gigs, even though it's probably not the best use of my time, is because it helps me practice in terms of the art. Okay, if you like for me, I know the structure, I know the science at the back of my head. I can go through the entire structure because I've been through it over and over and over and over again. I can do it if I was really groggy. I could probably do it if I'm drunk. I can probably do it while driving, while eating grapes. Okay, because I've nailed down the science. The art is where it takes practice. So like one of the things I'm personally doing to develop the art is in all these different TV appearances right now, I'm actually going in there to unprepared. So what I used to do beforehand is I used to be really prepared. I'll go there with what to say, with the script, super prepared. Now this entire tour that I'm doing this time, I'm going in without a script, unprepared, and I do that strategically. For me, it's practice. Okay, how do I? So even in my event yesterday, well, it's not my event. It's Nicholas and Amanda, a $1 billion body. They did an event down there, and I did a keynote. And I went in there with no preparation. And again, I'm not, that's, by the way, that's not what I am suggesting you to do. You 100% need practice, especially if you're starting out. But I'm showing that to show you how I practice. I'm practicing not the science, because I know the science at the back of my head, but I'm practicing the art. Okay. So that's, to me, that's the transition of being great, both online and offline, is the ability to practice both the art and the science. So how does this relate back to you? It means that depending on where you're at, there's always the next level of practice. There's always the next thing. Even if you know the flow by heart, okay, after you memorize the flow and you know it like that, the next thing to do is to practice the art. So get the science down first and then practice the art. Okay, so what does this have to do with today's session? Today's session on proven presentations is where I will walk you through, like I know like for some of you, you guys have already nailed this down, okay? But I'm gonna walk you through the big picture first. But I know that with today's session, you guys will get a lot more if I went through the entire flow and layout quickly first. And then after that, I did a couple of hot seats based on what was submitted to my team, okay, that they have filtered out as well. Okay, so to kind of start off, I want to walk you through the framework first, and then after that, that's where I will do a hot seat, okay? So to start off with the framework, I actually have in front of me a set of slides, which is over here, okay? So what I'm doing right now is in front of me is structure, okay? How is it possible to build an entire presentation really easily by just having structure? And this is something you want to be I will have my team upload this set of slides so that you can download them. But before you download them, I want you to kind of understand big picture first. And then after that, that is when you can develop this together with me. So by now, all roads that and all of the different sessions that we've been spending together has prepared you for this, okay, whether you realize it or not. But there are many different things that I've been showing you that has led to this, okay? So for example, creating the title, okay? Now this was basically the framework I used in proven presentations to teach proven presentations, okay? So a lot of things that I do today is based upon this framework when I create a pitch online. It's basically the title, right? Before this, I spent like approximately 10 sessions on proven presentations, which is not what we're going to do this time because I believe it's not going to be the best use of our time. What you want to do is to create the set of slides and the slide deck based upon what I'm about to show you. Okay, and then we'll do some hot seats. So number one, how to X and Y without Z. You've heard me say this. What is the result in time frame without thing they hate doing? That's the first piece. Okay, so for example, over here, it would be the proven formula used in sales letters, webinars, offline events, generated over 8 million, 8 figures in sales without being salesy, pushy, manipulative. Okay, X without Z. How to X without Z. Okay, doesn't have a Y time frame. You want to be able to start off by sharing with people why that webinar. Now, to kind of share with you context is that this thing here can be used both online and offline. Okay, so like I've done offline events, which I think I've lost track to how many offline events I've done on Facebook Lives, on webinars. You start off, all these different things is really capturing somebody's attention. Why is this webinar different? Why is this next 45-minute presentation different from all of the other information that you may have learned from the past? Now, this is super crucial to get people's attention so that they continue listening to you. This is the hook, okay? So as I'm going through this, I want you to kind of write it down. You don't need the slides yet, okay? If you've not done this before, some of you already have the entire slide deck done. That's great. Think about where are the different slices that you can improve upon, right? Why is your presentation different from all of the other things that they've probably listened to, okay? Get the hook. So for me, it's like, I will say, why is this different? My stuff is different, and what you're about to learn here is different because a lot of people teach sales, a lot of people teach theory, but what you're about to discover is not theory and stuff that I've personally used in more than 20 countries all over the world. You're going to talk about what's in it for me. Now notice that I'm not going to go deep into this because well, I've already done sessions on this in the past, and you can always, and I think it's going to benefit you a lot more by understanding big picture first so that you'll be able to consume this at your own pace, okay? For those of you that already have your entire slide deck done, think about where are the different improvements and tweaks in your very own slide deck that you can be doing. Okay, so show them. Okay, the next piece is what's in it for me. Like, why should I give you my attention in the next 90 minutes? Okay, like what's in it for me? Another question that they're always thinking is this for me? Right? So like if you, so in your slide deck, you want to talk about who is this for? This is for authors, entrepreneurs, forex traders, people that's new looking to make a side income. And one of the best way is if you cover like the two things, like if you have a business, then this is what you're going to get. If you don't have a business yet, and if you are somebody who always wanted to start a business, then you have a very clear cut plan on what to do. Think about, are you able to hook them until the end? So guys, if you see like it's highlighted in yellow, it means that it's actually not part of the presentation. It's basically the context and the structure that you want to be adopting to include as part of your presentation, okay, if you stay until the end. So this is where you want to hook them with earning the right credibility. And then number 7 is talking about who you are, the results you've generated, the successes you might had. And like you always hear me say, a great story is both struggles as well as successes. Okay, now these are things that you've heard me teach in the past, okay, which I'm going to go through, give you a bird's eye view without diving deep into it. You're going to talk about the concept. Okay, so like for me, I'm always thinking like, what's the next thing? Okay, so right from step number 1 to number 8, let me just kind of stop the share for a second and give you an insight to this. Now understand that number 1 to number 8, if it's a 90-minute webinar, the first part could be approximately 20 minutes, okay? It used to be the case where you could do like 30, but in today's landscape, the longer you spend on yourself and your story, the more you're going to lose your audience if you do not give them insights or takeaways, right? So have that balance between having that hook, but also giving them stuff. So understand as well at the same time, if you had to do like a 30-minute presentation, if you're doing it offline and you're speaking in somebody else's platform and you only had 45 minutes, this is where I would compress all of that down to under 5 minutes, right? If sometimes I only have 30 minutes, I'll compress it down. So like, for example, when I spoke at Funnel Hacking Live this year, all speakers who spoke at that event, because Russell Brunson wanted to kind of really pack it with a lot of speakers, many speakers, all speakers who spoke on Funnel Hacking Live, each person only had 28 minutes, okay? So 28 minutes to deliver value is a lot to ask for, and that is where like this portion here was cut down to less than 3 minutes for me, okay? So it's all about understanding the context and the structure, and you compress or expand it accordingly depending on how much time you have or don't have, okay? Now, once you build up that initial piece, then what you do is you move on and you talk about the concept, okay? So the concept is always told in the form of a story, okay? So, and just kind of think about how can you introduce the concept in the form of a story. So over here, I was talking about the concept of how I did my very first presentation. I was briefing like an entire team of people in Success Resources, and I totally bombed because I didn't understand context. I didn't understand the science behind presenting. And you want to introduce like, what is the concept, okay, behind what it is that you're about to teach. So like in my presentation last week when I was at Rob Cosberg's Impact and Income event, the concept that I brought up was I had a picture of Thanos. If you watch Marvel, the latest Marvel movie, I brought up the concept that I said, you know, Mark Zuckerberg right now, he is like Thanos, right? He is like uh, all he does is he snaps a finger and the algorithm changes, and 50% of marketers, they get wiped out, right? So that was the concept. Um, if you have not watched Marvel, then forget what I just said. But but anyway, so that's the concept. So like, what should you be doing if you want to be able to adapt and survive the snap from Zuckerberg every time he changes the algorithm? Okay, so think about like, how can you make things interesting or funny or related to something, so that you're able to illustrate the concept a whole lot better, right? Siler says the Zucker snap, right? That's exactly what it is. So the concept, okay? So once you illustrate the concept, then that is when you teach, the 3 things, the 5 things, the 5 steps. Now, this is where you come to the content. You've heard me say this before. The only thing with this right now is, on a more advanced note, is that when you teach the 3 things that strategically answers objections, the only issue with this is approximately 1.5 years ago, Russell Brunson came out with this book called Expert Secrets. Okay, and Expert Secrets went mainstream. Most marketers have read the book Expert Secrets. I promoted the book. And inside Expert Secrets, it talks about teaching 3 things, 3 secrets, 3 steps. And because of that, now every other marketer, when they do a pitch, a presentation, they teach 3 things. Okay. And I am always about going against what everybody else is doing. Okay. So this is something I've been doing for like 8 years. And because this is mainstream now, to give you an insight of how I think, like my next webinar, which is going to be my webinar funnel on event codex, I don't teach 3 things anymore. It's going to be 5 steps. And again, it's because I know that the people at my audience that listens to me, a lot of them are already marketers, some of them advanced. So I'm always trying to go against the tide. Okay, because most marketers are going to be thinking, oh, this is, the 3 things, and to them it's like, oh, it's probably going to be this. And I'm always trying to disrupt the pattern. Now, depending on who it is that you serve, if it's non-marketers, if it's people that are beginners, then that's fine. They probably would not know what this 3-step process is. If you serve, Forex traders, investors, real estate people, salespeople, they probably will not know this. But if you're in internet marketing, and if you're like me and you are serving an audience that's, that could be advanced, then you definitely do not want to have, the 3 secrets in place. So if you're not in that category, it's totally fine. But I'm just kind of showing you why in my next webinar, it's not going to be 3 secrets, but rather it's going to be 5 steps. It's just for that. It's because there will be many advanced marketers that's listening in, and I'm always thinking about messaging, right? Remember, it's about, in order to establish a big idea and to make something exciting, you must always understand what everybody else is saying. You must understand what the current messaging is, so that you are different. Okay, so that's when you teach the 3 things, the 5 steps, and then after that, you are going to go into transition mode, transition into your offer. And this is when you are going to have item 1, and then you're going to do the stack. Okay, item 1, here's what you're going to get. You're going to get this first piece, which is like component number 1. And then you're going to build up the value. Component number 2, you're going to build up the value of what it is that you have to offer. Okay, it's just building up the stack. Now, again, the best way to learn how to do things like that is to watch an actual webinar where people are actually selling stuff and they're good. Okay, So notice that I'm just building up the value. And once I build up the value, I justify it with the question, if all this did was result. If all this did was result, would it be worth it? If all this did was result, would it be worth it? Now, for me, I know the structure so well because I've practiced it so many times that to me, it's just doing it like in my sleep. I'll build up the entire thing, total value over there for, let's say, event codex, and let's say the total value I built up was $28,000. I know the next thing I'm going to say is, so let me ask you a question. If all this did was to help you run your very first live event that was profitable, would it be worth $28,000? If all this did was to help you sell 10 additional tickets and get 10 additional people to come into your live event, would you say that's worth $28,000? And what if you could actually do this over and over and over and again, where live events is no longer a scary thing, but something you do consistently that made you an additional stream of income? Would you say that's worth $28,000? Right? So I know for me, in my mind, it's like whatever the topic is, if it's marketing online, so let me ask you this question. If all this did was to help you build a sales funnel, where for every $1 you put in advertising, you get back $2 out on the other end, would you say that's worth whatever amount, you know? So if all this did was result, would it be worth it? So one thing that, again, it's all practice, because I know like once I've established the value, I'm going to justify it with if all this did was result. Okay, so this is understanding just the formula. Okay, and then that's when you're going to say at two choices. For those of you that's on the call, each and every one of you have heard me present this before. Okay, two choices, and then you're going to reveal what the real price is. And then after that, the different types of closes. Okay. And then after that, you could have a Q&A, which is usually predetermined beforehand. It's just answering objections and putting out the questions in your Q&A, and answering those objections. Okay. Now, this entire slide deck over here, I will have it uploaded so that it goes into the members area. But here's the way to approach this. Okay, now this is not something that's done in one session. So for those of you that's new, I know that many of you are at different levels right now. For those of you that's new, know that this is not something that is developed overnight. Okay, this is a skill that requires practice, that requires thought, that requires putting in the work. But if you do this, and if you are willing to be bad at it at first in order to be good at it, this is a skill that no marketer can run away from. Like again, I challenge you to look at any marketer that's doing over $1 million a year online, and I can guarantee you the one skill they have mastered is the skill to make a presentation and sell through a sales video or webinar. If they become better, then they take it offline and use it in live events as well. So for example, Stephen sent a message saying he couldn't make it to this event, to this coaching call right now, because he's doing a live, like right now, as we are doing this, he is doing a live event, a preview, promoting his e-commerce event. You know, so like, I want you to know, like, every marketer that does well has put in the time to master this skill set. Nobody is born with that gift. It is learned. Okay. and it's both the art and the science. So be willing to practice so that, number one, the science becomes and the structure is at the back of your head, and you can do it while whatever you could be hungover, you could be drunk, and you can still do it. That's when you know you've mastered it. And the second stage would be to master the art. Okay, so with the remaining time that we have, I want to take a look at what my team has forwarded to me so that we can do a quick hot seat, okay, in terms of what has been sent over. Let me just quickly download it right now. Okay, let's start off with Emmanuel. I see that you have a slide deck done up, so let me just open this up right now.